All right, let's talk about one of the most incredible stories in modern business. It's about Apple's unbelievable rise, its almost fatal collapse, and then the greatest comeback the world has ever seen, creating the most valuable company in history.
So, our story really kicks off right here in 1985. Steve Jobs, he's only 30 years old, and he gets publicly humiliated, kicked out of Apple. Yeah, the very same company he started in his parents' garage. By his own account, he was completely lost. Now, fast forward 12 years. The company Jobs left behind, it's on life support. It's burning through $1 billion a year and has absolutely no idea how to stop the bleeding. Analysts are basically writing its obituary. Apple is just weeks away from going completely broke. So you have to ask, how does a company on the very edge of total failure not only survive, but go on to basically define the 21st century? Well, that's the big question we're going to answer.
To really get the comeback, you have to go back to the beginning. It all started with a partnership, a garage, and an idea that would change the world, right before it almost destroyed itself.
And at the heart of it all, you had the two Steves, and they were a perfect study in contrasts. You had Steve Wozniak, a true genius, one of the most gifted hardware engineers of his generation, who just built things for the love of it. And then you had Steve Jobs, the visionary, who could see what technology should feel like, and had this relentless, sometimes brutal, drive to make it real.
You know, those early years were just a whirlwind. The Apple II, which came out in '77, was a huge hit that basically funded everything that came next. That included the revolutionary Macintosh in 1984, introduced with that now legendary Super Bowl ad. But the Mac's launch, well, that was also the beginning of the end for Jobs' first tour at Apple. And this is where we see a critical lesson. Even a revolutionary product can totally stumble. The Mac was beautiful, no doubt, but it was also slow, it had very little memory, and it was way more expensive than the IBM PCs that were flooding the market. Sales were a disappointment, and that led to a huge power struggle with the CEO, John Sculley. The board sided with Sculley, and just like that, Jobs was out.
So, by 1997, the company Jobs had been forced to leave was in a death spiral. Its market share had collapsed, the product line was a total mess, and the board made a last-ditch, desperate call to the one person they thought could save it.
And this number? I mean, just look at it. This shows you the scale of the disaster. In the year and a half before Jobs came back as interim CEO, Apple had lost almost $2 billion. This wasn't a slump. It was a full-on five-alarm fire that demanded radical action.
And boy, did Jobs deliver radical action. His first moves were just surgical and ruthless. He slashed the product line from dozens of confusing models down to just 4. He found a young designer named Jony Ive and put him at the center of the company, making design the core strategy, not some afterthought. And then he did the unthinkable. He announced a $150 million investment from their arch-rival, Microsoft. This was strategically brilliant. It wasn't just about the cash. It guaranteed Microsoft would keep making Office for the Mac, which was essential to keep any professionals from leaving the platform for good.
And this was the first product of the new Apple, the 1998 iMac. It didn't look like any computer ever made. It was colorful, translucent, all in one. The message was crystal clear. Using a computer should be fun, it should be a pleasure, not a chore. Design wasn't just how it looked anymore, it was how it worked. And the market responded immediately. I mean, the iMac became the best-selling computer in the entire country. It didn't just save Apple from going bankrupt, it completely repositioned the whole brand. Apple was back, and this time it was the company that made technology that people actually wanted to own.
Okay, so with the company stabilized, Jobs and Apple began their second act. And this time, they weren't just making computers. Oh no. They were about to completely reshape entire industries, one incredible device at a time.
And it all led to this single moment. On January 9, 2007, with these exact words, Steve Jobs introduced a device that would change literally everything: the iPhone. It took 3 product categories, mashed them into one, and in doing so, it created a whole new world.
The impact on the old guard was immediate and it was brutal. Giants like Nokia and BlackBerry, who at first literally laughed at a phone with no keyboard, just watched their dominance completely evaporate. Within a few short years, the entire market had been totally remade in the iPhone's image.
But here's the true genius of the iPhone. It wasn't just a device. It was a platform. When Apple launched the App Store in 2008, they created an entirely new economy out of thin air. Think about it. Mobile gaming. The gig economy, with companies like Uber and DoorDash, social media, like Instagram, none of it exists without this platform.
Now, after Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, his successor Tim Cook faced a totally different challenge. It wasn't about saving a dying company anymore. It was about how you scale a giant. The Tim Cook era has been all about cementing Apple's core philosophies while turning its business model into an absolute financial powerhouse.
And this chart shows that strategic shift perfectly. Under Tim Cook, Apple built out its services division, the App Store, Apple Music, iCloud, into a $100 billion a year business. This fundamentally changed the company. It made Apple way less dependent on you buying a new phone every year and created this massive, high-margin, recurring revenue stream. It made their success much more predictable and sustainable.
So what's the secret sauce here? Well, it really boils down to these three core ideas. First, design isn't just about how it looks, it's about how it works. Second, vertical integration. That's a fancy way of saying they control everything, the hardware, the software, the services, all under one roof. That creates a seamless experience that's really hard for competitors to copy. And third, the device you hold in your hand, that's just the ticket to the main event, the platform, the ecosystem. That's the real product.
So why does any of this matter? I mean, this isn't just a history lesson. Apple's journey has directly shaped the modern job market and created whole new career paths that are in huge demand right now.
I mean, think about it. iOS development, user experience design that's built on Apple's philosophy, the kind of systems integration that led to Apple making their own chips, and understanding platform strategy, which is really the economics of building a two-sided market like the App Store. These are some of the most valuable skills in tech today, and they were all born from Apple's way of doing things.
And we'll end with this. Apple's story is just a powerful reminder that the true test for any great technology is ultimately a human one. It's about making something extraordinary feel completely effortless. And it's proof that a powerful vision, even one that seems totally crazy at first, really can change the world.